niggas need Jesus. Yeshua, come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Let your love come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Yeshua, come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Give my niggas peace, my niggas joy, my niggas love. Give my niggas peace, my niggas joy, my niggas love. Give my niggas peace, my niggas joy, my niggas love. Give my niggas peace, my niggas joy, my niggas love. All of my niggas need Jesus. Yeshua, come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Let your love calm down.
All right, everybody. What a beautiful, it can't all be really, really sad openings, really like ironic and like edgy kind of openings. Sometimes we just need to open with, just something cool, just something like really uplifting, uh, something that makes you feel good to be alive. And for me, for me, everybody's different. For me, it's Christian music. So that's just a little special treat I prepared for everyone. I hope that everyone's feeling as positive as I am today. It's a beautiful day, a lot going on. We have some submissions on the website, which is nice. Always good to see. One just came in right before I hit record. I guess we'll just get started. There's really nothing to say about the Iran war. I mean, Strait's closed, then it's open. Now it's kind of closed, I guess. I don't know. We, as I mentioned on the bonus episode, which you can find at burnpile.vip, $5 a month. Pete Hegseth is talking about kamikaze dolphins that we have. I mean, until I actually see one of those in combat, then there's really nothing more to say about the Iran war. So I guess we'll just get into some weird sex crimes. Which, isn't that what everybody's here for anyway? All right, well, here I am over at burnpile.news, where you can go submit your own stories. Let's see. What should we start out with today? Well, why not start out with the worst story? Actually, all the stories here are terrible, but let's start out with the worst one. Okay. This is from Redux. Redux with 2 X's. REDUXX.info. It's a feminist news and opinion website. But it's the kind of feminists who they're cool because they hate transgender people. It's kind of like, it is horseshoe theory. It's like with libtards and like Israel. How you're like, I kind of like you better than half the people on what my own side is supposed to be. When you see like libtards with Palestinian flags and stuff. Kind of like that with the feminists who really hate transgender people. You're like, oh, I can kind of get into this. I feel like there should be a genre where how there's like a whole YouTube economy where black people like pretend to have never heard of some famous song or whatever that's like not black, where they're like oh, I react to the most famous rock song that's been played on the radio for 40 years and is in the soundtrack to half the movies ever made, and it's like, damn, these Rolling Stones bees really know how to do it. And it's like a reaction. They like listen to like 10 seconds of the song and they pause and like, yeah, I can get with this. And then like they have like 1 million views and they have like hundreds and hundreds of comments from all these boomers who are like, yeah, I love seeing people get into this music. And it's this whole like economy where you and they've branched out. Now they do like, and hey, the worst of it is they've obviously already heard the songs. They know who the Rolling Stones are. But there's other versions, there's other degrees of it, and they're like, some like country song or something that's on the radio, and you wouldn't normally see a black person. A black person sets up their room where they're recording, so they look even blacker than they actually are. They're actually in the suburbs, but they like, they put up some, whatever shit to make them look more black than they are, and then they listen to like the number one country song, and they're like, whoa, this shit is actually pretty damn lit. Yeah, like just complete horseshit. But there's different degrees. They might not have actually heard like the country song, is my point. But that's a whole like economy. That's a whole underground like scam and everything. Now, has anyone taken that model, okay, and you do it like you have like Glenn Beck, and he's like, Glenn Beck reacts to like the best feminist headlines, and then we read this one, and he's like, oh damn, this is actually pretty good. Listen to this headline, okay? Transgender pedophile held in a women's prison seeks to settle religious discrimination case with New Jersey Department of Corrections. And then it cuts to Glenn Beck, and he like pauses, he looks at the camera, he's like, damn, that's what feminists are talking about? I can get into this. Yo, white boy, that's what country is? If that's what country is, I could, like, it's the same energy as that. That's a pretty good. I'm about to submit this to the Blaze. I'm going to ask if I could get an internship to run this for Glenn. That's pretty solid, right? Okay. Let's just start reading here. A sadistic transgender pedophile serving his sentence in a women's prison. Now, this is cool. This feminist newspaper knows what to do here. Has entered into settlement negotiations with the New Jersey Department of Corrections after suing officials for denying him access to, quote, Wiccan religious items. Cut to Glenn. He's like, okay. Marina Volz is currently serving a 25-year sentence for horrific sexual crimes he committed against his own 7-year-old daughter. Hey, that thing that never happens. That's weird. I thought being gay was just just a normal part of human expression, and when two gay men wanted to adopt a little boy, you should be shocked if it turned out they were raping the boy. And when a man wants to dress up as a woman and pretend to be a woman, that doesn't mean that he'd be a bad parent. Here's another one of those weird outlier cases. As previously reported by Redux, Volz, born Matthew, was first sentenced on charges of human trafficking, aggravated sexual assault, conspiracy, and endangering the welfare of a child on May 2nd, 2022. The conviction stemmed from a lengthy investigation into Volz and 3 of his associates. A search warrant was executed at his home in 2019. How come I've never heard of this? This happened in 2022? This is my first time hearing about this case. I mean, a drug addict with fentanyl in his system passed off of a counterfeit $20 bill at at like a 7-Eleven, and overdosed and died while an officer had a knee on his neck. And it's the biggest story of all time, all over the world. I'm on the other side of the world. Everybody knows that story or some version of that story and has strong opinions about it. How come I've never heard of this? I mean, it does kind of tell you who rules over you, doesn't it? This is much more relevant to me. I'm much more interested in this story. I mean, why isn't everyone involved in this? I'm not sure I can complete that sentence, but, everyone, like, death penalty, obviously. And also, Even before any abuse occurred, death penalty. As soon as he has a daughter and he puts on a dress and says, "I'm a woman now," and walks outside holding his little girl's hand, he should be arrested and get the death penalty. I mean, like Minority Report, like pre-crime, like precognition and pre-crime, but they're actually all just like crack babies or something. I think that's what I am. Where I'm like, hey, I think, oh, there's going to be a crime in the future. I'm psychic. A search warrant was executed at his home in 2019 after the New Jersey Department of Child Protection received a tip indicating that a child was present in a premises where sexually explicit material was being filmed. Volz, along with another trans-identified male named Ashley Romero, thank you, Redux, for getting it, for knowing that you should always just call them men. Trans-identified male is the perfect phrase. I've got to adapt that for my own daily use. Trans-identified male named Ashley Romero had been operating a, quote, transgender fetish porn business from the home, and concerns had been raised that Volz's 7-year-old daughter had been exposed to indecent material. But after his electronic devices were seized, the investigation took a decidedly darker turn. What? How dark can it get? Several sexually explicit photos and videos of the child were found after forensic examination. As the investigation continued, it became clear that the child had been repeatedly sexually abused to create sadistic bondage pornography that Volz distributed through his network. You're kidding! I'm in the weird Minority Report place where they keep all the precogs. The camera zooms in on my eyes, and I open and I go, instead of murder, what should I say? Tranny. I mean, how was this allowed to happen? Whenever I see the rainbow flags like outside of churches and schools and everything, just remember, like, it's not. I'm not thinking about Matthew Shepard or whatever the fuck I'm supposed to think about. This is all I'm thinking about. They normalized this. These people worship Satan. I mean, I hate. I mean, obviously, I hate the guy who did it, but everyone just top to bottom in the whole society, everyone who won't say the word faggot is like, it's to some degree guilty of this. Like, I mean, I even know gay guys who say faggot, so they're fine. They also, the gay guys I know who I've like been friends with at different times in my life, none of them wanted to like adopt or even like get married. Now that I can tolerate until we fully take over the world, and then we'll have to see what needs to be done. But that's a long way. That's generations away. We'll all be gone by then. Investigators learned that Volz had taken the child from her mother in 2018, traveling cross-country with Romero to transport her from Oregon to New Jersey for the explicit purposes of using her in child sexual abuse material. It is believed the girl's mother, an ex-partner of Volz's, struggled with addiction issues, making it easy for the two men to take the child without her full knowledge of what was happening. It is interesting how, like, evil compounds, right? Like, a drug addiction, not being able to shake your drug addiction is obviously, like, a very, very dark, very, very bad thing, But, like, it's not on the same scale as this, right? As, like, the sexual abuse of a 7-year-old, right? But it's, like, it just is interesting. It's, like, what actually had kind of a good take on this, sort of, that was like the Joker movie. I never saw the second Joker, and maybe if I saw the Joker, I saw the Joker once, like when it premiered, like the weekend it came out. So maybe I'm even misremembering, or I misinterpreted, or I'm gay, or I'm a retard, or something. But I really liked the idea that you've got like the kind of like the evil of like just the dysfunction of the city, like the political dysfunction, because political dysfunction is just like, it's the most mundane kind of evil imaginable. It's like laziness and greed and disinterest and all those things. And it's like, how evil is it that like you won't pay the trash workers, so there's trash piling up on the street. It's like it's not really not that evil. It's just you really do need to figure it out and pay them and stop being greedy or whatever. But then it's like, well, the evil was just going to compound, where it's like from that small one, we go into like, this next level of evil, which is like we're in this stinking city, people respect it less, and then crime goes up. And then crime, economic crime is kind of mundane. It's just like people want things they can't have. They steal, they rob places. There's casual violence to get money from people, rob people, all that. And that's all like kind of mundane evil. But then I really like the idea that in the Joker, it was like, well, something completely unexpected could come out of it. Like, this guy who's kind of been passed through the system and he's not getting the mental health help he needs, and all these things combined to create this like this real evil no one could imagine, just like, almost like mythical evil Joker figure. Because you didn't know what that Joker was going to go on to do. Now, apparently in Joker 2, he goes on to get like raped in the ass by prison guards or something, and it's completely uninteresting. But like the idea that you could get like that you take like this mundane evil and this mundane evil and this mundane evil, and you kind of dramatically present it in such a way where you could believably get almost to a level of like a comic book supervillain. I thought, kind of a cool idea. And that's sort of what we see here, where it's like, well, the mom, she can't shake the drugs. And where's that going to go? Well, it can go like as Jordan Peterson, before he became a raving lunatic drug addict Israel worshiper, he would always say these things go all the way down to the depths of hell. Probably where he is now, it sounds like. But that's a podcast for another day. Let's continue on here. Some of the media found by police featured Romero. I'm not even going to read that. Romero lived in the residence with Volz and with two other individuals, Sean Allen, who had also sexually abused the child on film, and Dulcineo Gnecco, who acted as a domestic assistant. Now, quick shout out to Sean Allen. Hey, pretty cool that even though you were in on it, you didn't go along with the crowd and pretend to be a woman. Kept your male name, didn't become a tranny. Shout out to Sean. I mean, I hope that you get the death penalty and rot in hell, but hey, shout out for being like, I'm not doing that fag shit. I'm not putting on a dress. During the trial, prosecutors told the judge the little girl had... Okay, I'm not going to read that either. Judge Peter Tober declined to delve into the full details of the case due to their highly graphic nature, but noted to the court that... Okay, I'm not going to read that either. Quote, if this was not heinous, cruel, and depraved, I don't know what is, Judge Tober said, stating that the girl had been taken from her mother, quote, solely for the sexual gratification of others. In media coverage of the horrific case, Volz and Romero were referred to as women and were addressed using she, her pronouns. I'm a feminist now. This is cutting back to Glenn Beck. It's like, damn, yo, white boy, I like country now. That's amazing. I love that they're saying this, that the other outlets reported this with she, her pronouns. Volz was even identified as the girl's, quote, mother in the Daily Mail and My Central Jersey. Who reads My Central Jersey? It was later uncovered that Volz had previously served as the Clark College Queer Association president. prior to his transition, just 1 year before the sexual abuse of the child began. Pre-crime, the Clark College Queer Association president is going to commit a horrific sex crime. That's what my precognition is telling me. The male president of the Clark College Queer Association. Now, if it was like a fat woman, which is what I think 99% of them are, I would just say, oh, she's going to pretend she's a lesbian and she's going to have, sex with a woman 3 times in her life. Otherwise, her life is going to be completely sexless. She's the least likely to commit any kind of sex crime ever. But if it's a man, and especially a man who's pretending to be a woman, you go, okay, you want to be president of the queer club. I mean, I respect you as I don't know if I respect it, but like, I get it if you're just like, I want no political power. I just want to fuck as many men in the ass as possible. I just want to party. That I would understand. I'd be like, okay. He's got to draft him to be president of the queer club. He's the only one who's making any kind of sense. Anyone else who wants to do it, for anyone who volunteers to do it, something shady right there. Pete Buttigieg. Volz was ultimately sentenced to 25 years in prison after being convicted of human trafficking, blah, 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 blah. The 2 other men in the home were also convicted for their roles in the sexual abuse. Sean Allen, 54, was handed a 12-year sentence. 12 years? Sean was the one who didn't even put on a dress. Now, I know that it's good he didn't put on a dress. I also think that is better. But you can't only give him 12 years. You can be like, okay, Volz is going to be like, drowned or something really painful for his death sentence. And Sean, you didn't put on the dress. You did all your crimes as a man. You're just going to be shot in the back of the head. And also this Dulcinea Gnecco was charged on 4 counts of child endangerment and received a 5-year sentence. What's she going to do? Go teach kindergarten in 5 years? After their sentencing in May of 2022, Redux learned that Romero had immediately been housed in the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women, but that Volz had initially been placed in the Southwood State Prison for Men. Just 2 months later, Volz was quietly transferred to Edna Mahan, but was still recorded as a male inmate until 2023, when the state of New Jersey updated his inmate profile to classify him as a female inmate. That same year, Volz launched a discrimination lawsuit against the New Jersey Department of Corrections, alleging human rights violations on the basis of his religious freedoms. People still think democracy is good somehow, or that the system is working. What about, how would China handle this? How would Soviet Russia have handled this? Obviously, if someone's politically connected, they would just get away with it. But, they would here too. But, I don't think this would happen, right? Where you're like, my religious freedom. It's like, you raped a kid, faggot. You don't have, your religion is going to be whatever we tell you it is. In the suit, Volz claimed he was being denied religious accommodations in accordance with his Wiccan beliefs. Now, it's kind of perfect that this is Wicca, just because it's the most pathetic pseudo-religion there ever was, Wicca. Like, I think I hate Satanism more than anything, even like LaVeyan Satanism, where it's like, oh, we don't really believe in it. We just do it to piss off Christian, whatever. But all of it is it's disgusting. But at least with Satanism, I feel like you have to be a pretty like high agency person to like get into Satanism. I mean, unless you're like a woman who like just gets, or like a child who gets tricked into it, and then they're like, "Oh, look, you've gone this far. Now, don't you want to suck my cock?" Which is, I think, what like 99% of all that horse shit is. But like, if you were like actually like a predator who gets into it, I think you have to be like a really like high agency like person where you're like, I'm going to get into it, and then I'm going to mind rape people. Like it's pretty ambitious to get into. Wicca is just like pathetic. It's like a bunch of people are like, hey, we have this idea that in Europe in pre-Christian times, there was this kind of religion that was like very female led, and there were these kind of goddesses, and there's actually zero evidence for it. It's all just made up. And, if you're into Wicca and you're not like a teenage girl, you really are just extremely pathetic. Like, it would be way better if you were just really into like Sonic the Hedgehog comics or something. Like, that would be like a huge step up. It's not a real religion. It's pathetic. It's pathetic in the way that like Satanism is not pathetic. Like, Satanism is disgusting and evil and gross, and everyone who does it is a loser and sucks. But Wicca is so much gayer. Like, it's embarrassing. It's very, very embarrassing to be into Wicca. Even if you're in prison for 25 years for raping a child, you should be embarrassed to practice Wicca. Somebody says like, "Ew, you do Wicca too?" I start blushing. You get turned all red. You're like, no, 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 Satanism, not Wicca. What do you think? I'm some kind of faggot? What do you think I'm some kind of weirdo? I don't do Wicca. What the hell, dude? Okay. Wicca is a modern pagan spiritual practice that centers on nature, rituals, and reverence for divine forces, often represented as a goddess and a horned god. Voles allege that Joy Lynch, the head of religious services at Edna Mahan, had denied him a number of Wiccan religious accommodations. Can you imagine you're this woman who gets into, you're like the head of religious services for a women's prison. You're going into all these women. You were probably like, you have like some kind of religious background, like a degree or something. You're going in there. It's like 99%, people who are dealing with their Christianity in there in that horrible situation. These are women who lost their kids, have dealt with drugs. A lot of them are victims themselves. And she's probably got a degree in like counseling. She's dealt with like countless women in this way. And she comes in and like, yeah, there's some Catholics and there's some, there's a lot of different versions of Protestantism. Maybe among the black women, there's probably some, Nation of Islam stuff going on and all that. But like, it's mostly Christianity. And she goes in, and these women, they're trying to turn their lives around and they're struggling. Like, the message of Christianity is forgiveness, but can they really accept it? And then she's got to wonder, like, are they sincere about it? Are they going to do okay on the outside? And she has this long career, and like, there's, some women come back, and it's like the movie Silence, like where someone's asking for forgiveness over and over and over again. And like, she thinks she's like seen everything, and like God has tested her in these ways. And she's like, she's like comfortable in her spiritual journey. Like, and then, and then a man comes into the women's prison who has raped his 7-year-old daughter on camera. And he's a man with a dick and balls. A dick and balls which were on camera filming CSAM. And he comes in and he says, "I need shit to do Wicca in here. I'm a Wiccan." He's got like stubble on his face if he doesn't shave. he's there. He's got like a 5 o'clock shadow. He's just starting to get his male pattern baldness. And he stinks. He smells like a man. And he walks in there. He goes to Joy Lynch and he says, I need... let's read what he wants. They denied him a number of Wiccan religious accommodations, including the ability to maintain a, quote, witch's garden for growing, quote, sacred herbs, and the ability to perform nighttime rituals, either nude, parentheses, and scare quotes, sky-clad, or in a cloak. They won't let me grow a witch's garden. I mean, God damn it, Joy. I don't know what to do. I've never been more on someone's side than I am on Joy Lynch's side in this situation. I mean, if he came to me and I was the head of religious services at the women's prison, and he's just a man and he wants to have a garden. He needs a witch's garden and he wants to run around naked under the moonlight. I'd be like, you raped a child. What do you mean you want a fucking garden? The NJDOC permits the practice of Wicca in the state's prisons, and practitioners are reportedly allowed to access at least some of the items Voss claimed he had been denied, such as the Book of Shadows, which contains instructions for magical... Did they really call it the Book of Shadows when they were making this up for their made-up fake religion? I mean, this is like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. A pentacle, incense, 3 electric or battery-operated candles, and a cup of grape juice as a substitute for wine. The case has been slow-moving, but a new update shows that Volz has now entered into settlement negotiations with the department. And, okay, listen. We'll give you a Book of Shadows, but you can't have a garden. And had requested a number of measures to settle the case that department lawyers are now considering. Volz has presented the department with 12 settlement demands, including the right to perform outdoor Wiccan religious ceremonies in the nude during certain observations, and the ability to be designated a Wiccan religious leader within the prison. God. So you're in the women's prison, and you can either go talk to Joy about whether or not Jesus can forgive you for doing this to your children and going away and leaving them without a mother. Or you can go to a man with a penis who's a rapist who rapes children, and you can talk to him about the Book of Shadows. But another striking point from the latest joint update includes a request from Volz to marry his sex offender accomplice, Ashley Romero, while the two are incarcerated. Okay, so these are two men who both filmed CSAM while they were living together. They're now both of them male, both living in the women's prison, and they want to get married. They want to turn the prison. They want to be two gay guys married and living in the prison and having a garden together. They want a taxpayer funded like fantasy. You know, if someone would pay for me to have an apartment and they gave me a garden and I had the freedom to run outside naked under the moonlight, like, that's pretty good. And they'd give me like all my meals and everything. I mean, people get DoorDash 3 times a day, and they don't even go out. If they had a garden, they wouldn't even go out. I mean, this would be like a pretty healthy life. If the request is approved, Volz and Romero would not be the first trans-identified male inmates at the women's prison to be permitted to marry while incarcerated. Who performs these ceremonies? Who gets a request? I mean, even if you're like a Wiccan, if you get like a letter from a prison, you're like a Wiccan cleric, whatever they call them, and you've got like a guy who wants to marry another guy. He made CSAM. You'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Who can they find to even do this? All right, then it just gets into the other story of the other couple that got married. All right, you get it. You get it. Wow, what a cool website, redux.com. Well, that's horrific. I didn't even read the bad parts to you, but you get it. I mean, we've all had enough. Let's go to a submission from somebody else. Over here at burnpile.news, we have a submission from Nosa. This is from people.com. Headline reads, a woman met her husband in a Bible group. 6 kids later, she found out he was keeping a couple captive in a basement. I mean, I know if you're single, everybody says, like, one of the things people say is, like, you can meet somebody decent at church. I don't know, man. I feel like take your chances on the apps, as bad as the apps are. I mean, the last couple I know that got married, they met on the apps. Just try the apps. Don't even try the... Good God. All right. When Danielle Chauvet met Chad Shipper at a Bible study meeting at her sister Randon's college, she never could have predicted how their lives would end up. Chauvet looks back at the start of their relationship. Okay, they're trying to promote their shitty show here. He had a reputation of being very smart, very kind. Barbie Dung. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Can we just get to the good stuff? Chauvet and Shipper went on to tie the knot and settle into a life that Chauvet remembers thinking was, quote, too good to be true. Not long after, Shipper came to his wife with a jarring confession. He'd had a sexual, quote, encounter in a bathroom with a man. This is why you don't go for the Bible study stuff. Though a marriage counselor advised Chauvet to leave Shipper, now I'm shocked at that. I'm glad the Christian marriage counselor had some balls. She was determined to make the relationship work, and a couple of months later, she found out they were expecting their first child, a daughter named Grace. The couple, who would welcome 6 children together during 17 years of marriage, moved to a larger house, blah, 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 blah. In the new house, Shipper had an office on the first floor that he spent many hours in, often working into the night and sleeping downstairs, much to Chauvet's disappointment. She really did like getting railed out by this guy. It sounds like he had a hog. I mean, he says that he sucked a guy off in a bathroom. She stays with him anyway, knocks out 6 kids with him. I think he had the hog. He must have. Also, maybe saying that he had an encounter, you know, it's too ambiguous. I would be like, wait. Which side were you on? I'd be like, who sucked who? And he's like, baby, of course. He sucked me. And she goes, oh, sweetheart, and grabs him, and then they make love, and they make their first child. All right, let's get to the good stuff here. Here we go. One night in 2017, things took a turn when one of the couple's children saw a car approaching their home that he didn't recognize. Around the same time, Shipper had texted their daughter, Grace. I love this part. To wrap the handle of a sledgehammer in black electrical tape. While the teen thought it was a weird request, she obliged and was told she'd receive a, quote, special treat for a job well done. asking your teen to wrap wrap a sledgehammer in electrical tape is pretty cool. You know, they say it's one of the problems with why Western countries don't have families. It's because the children, like in poor countries, the children help you. They help you like subsistence farm or whatever, and you know they're like an economic benefit to the household. And in Western countries, it's purely you know, they don't really help. It's an economic burden. So then the populations all fall. But here we can see, get the kids involved. Get the kids a little bit, let the kids help out. Yeah, the kid's not swinging the sledgehammer, but what do you need? What do you need? What steps are there? Okay, you need to wrap the sledgehammer in electrical tape. Get the kid involved. Let the kid do that. Something for them to do. Give them a treat after. A few nights later, Chauvet awoke to the sound of a loud bang as the house was swarmed with police officers looking for her husband and asking questions about the Van Oostens. It turned out that Schipper... Okay, so I skipped over some things. The Van Oostens were a couple at their church that were like rich. They were an old couple, and he wanted to do business with them, but they said no in the end. It turned out that Schipper, using the sledgehammer his daughter prepared, broke into the Van Oostens' house in the middle of the night and kidnapped the elderly couple using a taser, duct tape to cover their mouths and eyes, and handcuffs. To communicate with them, Schipper used a voice distorter and at one point asked them, "Where is your God now?" This is the kind of guy you meet at Bible study. He breaks into an old couple's house and terrorizes them, a couple he knows from church, and says, "Where is your God now?" through a voice distorter. Just, ladies, I know it's bad out there. I know there's lots of players and bad guys. Just use Tinder. It's just never going to work. You're going to get a bisexual guy who is like basically a terrorist at a Bible study. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't that way. Just use the apps. It's just got to be the apps. Bumble, whatever. You've got to do it. Okay, listen to how retarded this guy is. Schipper then drove the couple to a bank and forced Connie to go inside and get a check for $350,000. He told her that if she didn't, he would kill Larry. While inside the bank, Connie wrote a note on a church flyer in her purse and slipped it to the teller. The note, which said she was in trouble, set off a police hunt for the Van Oostens' whereabouts. Now, listen to this. Listen to how retarded he is, okay? Because everybody thinks there's some kind of, like, mastermind or something. This is the problem with every kind of, like, fictionalized, like, crime drama thing. It's always, like, it's not stupid enough. It's not retarded enough. And so it's, like, unbelievable. Where it's like, we figured out the crime because of the brilliance of the detective's insight into the... It's never like that. Listen to how retarded this is, okay? The check was made out to an LLC linked to Schipper, so the police zeroed in on him. He's like, "I'm going to kill your husband if you don't write out this check, if you don't get this check from the bank for $350,000. Yeah, make it out to the LLC that I'm registered as the owner of." I mean, why even have the kid? You could raw dog a sledgehammer. You don't need to wrap that in electrical tape. What, you want electrical tape so it like makes less of a thud or it leaves less evidence somehow or something? I don't even know why you'd want to do that. But whatever your idea was for why you need to wrap it in electrical tape, throw that out the window if you're having them write the check to your fucking LLC, you horse's ass. What an absolute retard. Okay, so they go to Schipper's house. Following a car crash, Schipper was transported to a hospital where he quickly confessed to the kidnapping. What if he calls the police and where he quickly confessed to another sexual encounter with a man in a bathroom? What if he calls the police and he's like, "Okay, listen, you got me. There is a second time I didn't tell my wife about." This one's a little more recent. While searching one of his homes, police discovered a room with a television screen broadcasting security footage and could see the elderly couple in a concrete room shackled to a wall, blindfolded. They then found a steel door in one of the house's closets that led to the soundproof underground cellar. In a police interview included in the episode, Shipper tells police that he, quote, felt desperate and was, quote, trying to buy time due to his failing business. It was also revealed that Shipper had allegedly been embezzling funds from his clients, stolen money from various family members, and forged documents in order to borrow money against his parents' house. According to police, the money he tried to obtain from the Van Oostens was how he planned to pay off his debts. All right, so he's got them shackled up and blindfolded in a secret room underneath his house. Now, here's the thing. Okay, look, he got sentenced to 60 years in prison. The guy raping the kid got 25 years, and one of the accessories got 12 years, the other one got 5 years. I mean, what the fuck? Old people are that much more valuable than children? Really? If anything, it should be the opposite. But anyway, it goes into trying to get a divorce, the woman trying to get a divorce. I don't know. When I read about these things, I really think a lot of it is like, you know, the women, they don't want to take any blame for it. Like, we're all so primed to be like on the woman's side in every case that she's just like, all she has to do when they find someone like kidnapped and chained up, like in a secret room in a woman's house, all she has to do is be like, yeah, I should have known that would happen. My husband confessed that he sucked a guy off in a bathroom right after we were married. And we're all just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad you got out of, like, she could be like the whole mastermind behind everything. Right? And we'd never know, because now I don't really think she is. This is probably like mostly true, but like if she was, all she'd have to do is be like, yeah, I know. He's actually a faggot. He told me after we got married that he was a fag. And we'd all be like, yeah, what a fucking piece of shit. You're right. Anyway, don't worry. He's going to do 60 years in prison. He'll never see the outside of a jail cell. You move on with your life, ma'am. I mean, it's unreal. It's crazy. Well, I don't know. Hopefully he can find the light of the mother goddess, start reading his Book of Shadows in prison. Maybe, hell, transfer to the women's prison. Why not? All right. That was by Noza. Thank you, Noza, for the submission. Let's see. I think we've got a Smarty submission. I think we're going to save that for the bonus episode over at burnpile.vip. Let's see if there's anything else to talk about today. I don't want to do another CSAM story. I'm not going to do a second one today. I do have a second one. I'm not going to do that. I'm already censoring these stories and just like not reading what they say because it's so fucked up. Here we go. Let's do a variation on the classic female pedophile story. And female, now, are you supposed to call them, it's like a hebephile when someone likes teenagers, like, you know, post-pubescent teenagers. I think that's called a hebephile, because Hebe is the goddess of like youth and fertility in Greek. And she was like the second wife of Hercules. Now, do you call it a hebephile if it's a woman going after like pubescent boys? Because it's a goddess, right? What do you call it? There's got to be a word for it. Okay, New York Post headline reads, female World Cup soccer hopeful. Not a teacher. Not that bad. Not a teacher. Female World Cup soccer hopeful accused of raping 14-year-old boy with braces multiple times. I love that they put with braces in the headline. These guys, the people who write for the New York Post or whoever the editor is who puts together the headlines, he's so porn brains that he's like, he writes his headlines this way as if they're like porn category. He's like, I'm going to, I'm going to put the age and I'll even put braces in there so that more people will click on it. A female World Cup soccer hopeful has been accused of repeatedly raping a 14-year-old boy who was still wearing braces and sending him nudes of herself. Now, all right, listen to this. This is a little bit of a different one. Oteda Christina Kidiona, now 20, was hit with a slew of charges for allegedly having sex with a team at his home in Bluffdale, Utah in 2024 when she was 19, cops said. So this is really a pretty ambiguous one to me. Where this one, I don't even know if it was rape. I don't know if this one is that bad, actually. Every time I talk about one of these, I talk about the scale. Gangbanging your 45-year-old teacher while wearing a scream mask is, yes, very damaging to someone, and that should be prosecuted. Whereas, like, a 23-year-old teacher and a 17-and-a-half-year-old boy, it's inappropriate, but how bad is it? This scale, it's almost like it's not quite at zero, but it's almost at zero. He was 14 and she was 19. They're both teenagers. I mean, and she's not even his teacher or anything. She's in no position of authority over him. I kind of think this one's no crime committed. I think this one is someone needs to give her a strong talking to. But okay. Oh, sorry, I cut my mic out there. I'm back. Let's read on here. Kidiona, who was part of Samoa's 2027. Well, they got different values over there in Samoa. Anyway, that's actually probably, if it was a white boy, that's actually why she's being prosecuted here, I think. They're taking one of our precious flowers, white people, this 14-year-old sweet white boy with braces. Part of Samoa's 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup failed qualifying campaign earlier this year, is accused of abusing the boy multiple times over a 6-month stretch before she went off to college. She wasn't even in college yet. The boy claims the budding soccer star would come to his home 2 to 3 times a week to have sex with him between June and October 2024, according to court documents. The alleged relationship stopped briefly when she headed off to Bellevue College in Washington State, but reignited when she returned home a month later, the filings charge. During the alleged tryst, Kidiona allegedly sent the boy explicit photos and videos where he claims she was head to toe clean naked. I'm 100% sure it was a white boy. This is a white Mormon Utah boy. He said she was head to toe clean naked. That's Mormonism for you. She also allegedly encouraged him to send nudes of himself, including when he was in the shower, according to court documents. Now, that is fucked up. 14-year-old boys should not be taking pictures of the penis in the shower. Under Utah law, the age of consent is 18. Now, that's Utah overcompensating for a history, I think. Don't you think? I mean, there are lots of states where it's like 16, 15, lots of countries in Europe where it's 16. Russell Brand, right? His whole apology tour right now. He's like going around saying on podcasts, like, I had sex with a 16-year-old when I was 30. It's not a crime. I was in a country where that's legal. But I realize now it was immoral. I don't do things like that anymore. Utah making the age of consent 18 just because the most famous thing everyone knows about their religion there is that they had like harems full of young teen brides and some splinter sects of their religion still do it. Everyone knows that they're overcompensating here. It's like, hey, did you know that the minimum dick size in Utah is 9 inches? It's like, come on. No, it's not. what are you doing here? No one believes this even for a second. I mean, whatever. Age of consent, maybe it should be 18, I don't know, but they usually have rules for like if it's two teenagers. Like even if they have someone who's not age of consent, like if age of consent is like 16 and you know, a 17-year-old has sex with a 15-year-old, usually the law is written in such a way that you know, the other teenager doesn't go to jail. Now, a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old is pushing it, but if the older one is 19, it's not pushing it that hard. I mean, come on. Kadiona was hit with the charges just 2 months after she took to the field for the Samoan national women's soccer side during their World Cup qualifying campaign in February. The athlete is charged with distributing material harmful to a minor and 3 counts of unlawful sexual activity with a minor under the age of 21. Kadiona, who isn't in custody, was issued a summons to appear at an upcoming court hearing on June 6th. I don't know. This is go back to Samoa and never come back sort of situation. The boy is being, I mean, I remember being 14. I would not have been able to handle this situation in any way. I could probably barely handle it today. But so I'm not going to blame him for ratting her out. But, you know, he also shouldn't have ratted her out. I mean, he probably told his Mormon parents, who just have no frame of reference for this, and they're just like, they've just been such hardcore rule followers their whole lives that they probably went and like looked up what age of consent is in Utah and were like, oh, it's 18. Oh, okay. Well, she's a rapist then. Our boy did nothing wrong. He was raped. It's rape. And it's like, okay. I mean, is it? Like, I mean, is it a little fucked up when like a 19-year-old boy has sex with a 14-year-old girl? A little, yeah, it's not good. But, you know, it happens. And if you reverse the genders, it's a little bit of a joke. I mean, she wasn't a teacher. She was just this wild Samoan girl who just wanted to get dicked down by this like little boy for some reason. I mean, I don't know. The heart wants what the heart wants. If the camera zooms out, I'm in full judge's robes. I've just been like delivering my judgment. Everybody's just staring at me. Like, the heart wants what the heart wants. I mean, anyway, well, if we really have like women's prison, are we going to have like women's prisons where we have like women like this in there, along with like the dudes from the first story who are pretending to be women, and they're all in there together, and she's like, she's trying to get a Book of Mormon. She's trying to get a Book of Mormon from the religious coordinator. And the religious coordinator's like, I don't know. Didn't you rape a Mormon boy? I'm not sure if I'm going to give that to you. And then the other guy's, he's like, where is my fucking Book of Shadows? Okay? It's enough you people don't let me run around naked in the moonlight. Where the fuck is my Book of Shadows? Okay. All right. I think I've had enough fun today. I'm not going to read the other CSAM story. I'll save that for the bonus episode. God, this lady's got some big thighs on her. She's got some real soccer player thighs. I mean, she must have just crushed the life out of this boy. I mean, I don't want to sound crass. No, good for the boy. I honestly, I hope they get married. That's the happy ending I'd like to see for this. All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeshua, come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Let your love come down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Yeshua, come down. Yeshua, calm down. All of my niggas need Jesus. Let your love calm down.